Good evening, everybody. We are coming to you live from the Torch Center, where we just fulfilled a biblical commandment of counting the Omer. We counted the 28th day of the Omer, which is 4 weeks, and that gets us to way number 28 of the 48 ways of maximizing life. So way number 28 is V'ha'oseh siag lidvarav. A person should take precautionary measures. Now, let me ask you a question. If you were walking on the edge of a cliff, and you're afraid, you know what, you just built this beautiful home right next to the cliff, would you put a fence around it to ensure that your children don't by mistake run off the cliff? Yeah, of course, right? Right? You'd make sure. Now, when people drive on the road, sometimes there's these turns, right? And what do they have? They have these arrows telling you it's turning. But what else do they have? They have these guardrails to ensure that you don't by mistake go off the road and, God forbid, something terrible could happen. Right? Why do they have that? Precautionary measures. Precautionary measures. If we believe that our relationship with God is that important, shouldn't we take precautionary measures to make sure that we don't fall off that cliff? So now, when we have these ideas which are called minhagim, a minhag, which is a custom. Sometimes you have these customs that are instituted to be a extra measure of precaution. So we say, it's just that the rabbis made it. Why do they do it? Because if we understand that our relationship with God is so important, it's more important than life itself. It's the reason we're alive, is to have that relationship with God. So then, it's so important to make sure that relationship doesn't fall off a cliff. So we put that fence there. Our sages, for example, instituted in the laws of Shabbat that we're going to get to at our Shabbat Bliss class on Sunday mornings at Congregation B'Shalom Shalom at 11 o'clock. So we're soon going to talk about the laws of Kotzer. You know when we're going to talk about it? Next week. Not to cut, not to prune. And it's an amazing stretch, people think, that our sages tell us not to ride a horse on Shabbat. Why? Well, people think not to ride a horse because a horse is muktzah. No, that's not why. The reason is because you'll end up breaking a branch. Oh, come on, really? I'm riding a horse, I'm going to break a branch? So a friend of mine told me a very interesting thing. He said he went horseback riding with a bunch of friends, and they went up these hills, and they're just hanging out, on their horses, and they're enjoying each other's company in the shade. And one guy is on his, he's like, you're like you're sitting on an 8-foot tall or 10-foot tall horse, right? And he holds on casually to a branch, and guess what? He broke the branch. He's like, now I understand why these sages instituted a precautionary measure. Because if Shabbos is that important, that the Torah comes to warn us against a transgression of Shabbos so many times, isn't it worth an extra precautionary measure to ensure that we don't break that? Right? It's such a fundamental principle. If a person cares about honesty so much, won't they make sure that they're extra careful in their business dealings not to cheat, not even one penny? If a person is so careful, right, to be respectful to other people, they'll take extra precautionary measures not to hurt someone else's feelings. So taking precautionary steps is essential for us to maximizing life. Because anything that we love and anything that means something to us, we're going to take a precautionary measure to ensure that we don't fall off the cliff. Right? A totally different perspective on why we have something which is called a siag. It says that a person should make a siag la Torah. You should make a boundary around the Torah, meaning protect it so that you don't just fall off the cliff. A person should make, over here in our Mishnah it says, to make a precautionary boundary to your words, to the things that you do, to the things that are important to you. If there's something that's important to you, make sure that you have a boundary so that you don't fall off that cliff. Okay? The difference... we'll stop here. I think it's important. I think we've spoken about this enough to have the clarity of the 28th way is Oseh Siag L'Dvarav. You want to be happy, make yourself a boundary that you don't pass. I'll give you just one quick example. My rabbi, may he live and be well, lives in Israel, and he sent out a memo to all of his students. And the memo was as follows. Any one of my students who does not have a filter on their internet, don't call me again. Why? Because it's very simple. If you care about your spirituality, you would take a precautionary measure to ensure that by mistake, nothing shouldn't accidentally come on your screen that is inappropriate. That means to be his student, you value your spirituality. And you'll take a precautionary measure. Doesn't mean you're closed-minded. It doesn't mean you don't have internet. It's not forbidden. But take that extra measure to ensure, right? We all know, look, the fact is that in 2012, over 33%, more than 1/3 of all divorces had in the briefings something related to Facebook. Oh, he met up with his old friend from high school. She met up with her this. It's it. Right? There could be trouble. Why, if someone would care about their spirituality, why wouldn't they take a measure to ensure that they don't fall into a trap, God forbid? That they don't fall into a place of temptation. That they don't fall into a place which could be a spiritual casualty. If we care enough about our spirituality, we take extra precautionary measures. And that's what this way is. You know what? You know what? People say they don't want to waste time. So what do? They don't go for coffee in coffee shops. That way they're working. It's a little precautionary measure. Take a precautionary measure to anything you want to accomplish, and you'll succeed at it. With that, my friends, thank you for joining us for Way 28. We hope you liked it, and you'll enjoy it further by sharing it so that more people can learn. Have a lovely evening, and a happy 4th week of the Omer. In another 5 days is what? Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day of the Omer. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for joining us.